The crack of his hand against her face echoed across the parade ground like a gunshot. 2,000 Marines stood frozen in formation. The morning sun beat down on Camp Pendleton's main plaza. Not a single man moved. Not a single breath was taken. Rear Admiral Richard Stone's palm was still raised, trembling with rage. His face had gone from red to purple in the span of 3 seconds. The woman before him didn't flinch. Blood dripped from her split lip onto the dusty concrete. 1 drop. 2. 3. She simply straightened her head, turned back to center, and stared at him with eyes devoid of fear. No tears, no anger, just a cold, empty calm. The kind of calm that comes from having killed 127 men and remembering every single face. Admiral Richard Stone had just made the worst mistake of his 30-year career. He didn't know it yet, but he would, very soon. Camp Pendleton, California, 0800 hours present day. The medal ceremony had been going smoothly until she arrived. Kira Vance stood at the edge of the formation. Civilian clothes, dark olive V-neck shirt, tactical cargo pants that had seen better days. Long dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked like she'd wandered onto the base by accident. Like she didn't belong. That was exactly the point. The Marines assembled couldn't see what Admiral Stone saw when he looked at her arm. They couldn't see the way she stood. Weight balanced perfectly on the balls of her feet, hands relaxed but ready, eyes constantly scanning, threat assessment running on autopilot. They saw a young woman who looked out of place. Stone saw something else entirely, something that made his blood pressure spike. He'd been in the middle of awarding a Bronze Star to a staff sergeant, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Good Marine, clean record. The kind of ceremony Stone had presided over 100 times before. Then he'd spotted her, standing there, watching, taking notes on a small tablet. Pentagon contractor. That's what his aide had whispered. Tactical assessment specialist. High-level security clearance. Authorized to observe training protocols. Stone didn't care about authorizations. This was his base, his Marines, his command. He handed the Bronze Star to the staff sergeant without looking at him. Stepped down from the reviewing platform. His aide tried to follow, but Stone waved him off. The walk across the parade ground seemed to take forever. Every eye tracked his movement. The formation stood at attention, silent, waiting. Stone stopped 3 feet in front of Kira Vance. Up close, she looked younger than her 38 years. Smooth skin, no visible scars. But something in her eyes suggested she'd seen things, done things, survived things that would break most people. Name, Stone barked. Kira's gaze met his, steady, unflinching. Vance, sir. Vance what? Just Vance, Vashayan. Stone's jaw clenched. 29 years in the Navy, flag officer for the last 6. No one spoke to him like that. No one. You're the Pentagon contractor. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir. What the hell are you doing at my medal ceremony? Observing, sir. As authorized by, I don't care what you're authorized to do. Stone stepped closer, close enough to smell her shampoo, some kind of generic brand. Nothing expensive, nothing military. This is a Marine Corps function. You're not a Marine. You're not even military. So I'm going to ask you one more time. What are you doing here? Kira didn't step back, didn't even shift her weight. I'm here under direct orders from the Secretary of Defense Admiral. My credentials are valid. My assignment is classified. And with respect, sir, you're disrupting your own ceremony. The silence that followed was deafening. 2,000 Marines watched, waiting to see what would happen, waiting to see if this admiral would back down from some nobody civilian. Stone's hand moved before his brain could stop it. The slap came fast, hard, the kind of blow that would drop most people to their knees. Kira's head snapped to the side. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. Her lip had split clean through. She didn't make a sound, didn't cry out, didn't gasp, didn't even blink. She just let the blood drip, straightened her head, and looked at Admiral Richard Stone with an expression that sent ice down his spine. Security, Stone's voice cracked. His palm was stinging. His heart was racing. Something was wrong. This woman should have crumbled, should have cried, should have done something and get this civilian off my parade ground, now. The 2 military police officers started forward, then stopped. They'd seen her credentials earlier. Pentagon, Department of Defense. Letters that outranked everyone on this field except maybe God himself. Sir, one of them said carefully, she has authorization from... I don't care if she has authorization from the president. Stone's face had gone from purple to nearly black. This is my command. My Marines, and I will not have some contractor playing soldier in the middle of my ceremony. Kira finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of control that comes from years of discipline. Admiral Stone, I'm here under direct orders. My credentials are valid. My assignment is classified. She paused, wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand. And with respect, sir, you just assaulted a federal official in front of 2,000 witnesses. Stone's hand came up again. This time Kira caught it. Not aggressively, not violently, just stopped it in midair. Her fingers wrapped around his wrist with the casual ease of someone catching a thrown ball. The movement was so fast, so effortless, that several Marines in the front row actually gasped. Stone's eyes went wide. He tried to pull back. Couldn't. Let go of me, he hissed. Kira held his wrist for exactly 3 seconds, long enough for him to feel the strength in her grip, long enough for him to realize she could have broken his arm if she'd wanted to. Then she released him and stepped back. I apologize, Admiral. Reflexes, it won't happen again. She turned and walked away. 2,000 Marines watched her go. Not one of them moved. Not one of them spoke. They just watched as this woman, blood still dripping from her chin, walked off the parade ground with her spine straight and her head high. Admiral Richard Stone stood there, hands still raised, palms still stinging. And somewhere deep in his gut, a voice was screaming that he'd just made a terrible, terrible mistake. 96 hours earlier, Coronado Naval Base, California, 0900 hours. The briefing room was small, windowless, the kind of space designed for conversations that never officially happened. Kira sat across from Commander Victoria Ashford, 2 coffee cups on the table between them, both untouched, both going cold. Ashford was 52, 28 years naval special warfare. She'd been a SEAL before most people knew women could be SEALs. Silver hair cut short, face marked with lines that came from squinting at targets in desert sun. She slid a folder across the table. Master Chief James Vance, Ashford said. KIA 4 years ago, Afghanistan, Taliban ambush during a classified operation. Kira stared at the folder, didn't touch it. She knew what was inside. She'd memorized every word of that report, every detail, every lie. That's the official story, Ashford continued. What really happened is this. Your father's team was compromised. Someone sold their location to the enemy. The ambush was planned, coordinated. Every member of SEAL Team 7 wiped out in under 4 minutes. I know. What you don't know is that we finally identified the source of the leak. Kira's eyes snapped up. Ashford pulled out a photograph. Rear Admiral Richard Stone, dress whites, 2 stars gleaming on his collar. The kind of photo they use for official Navy publications. Admiral Stone has been selling classified intelligence for the last 6 years. Submarine patrol routes, SEAL deployment schedules, signal intercept protocols. We estimate he's made somewhere between $8 and $10 million. Kira's hands were flat on the table, perfectly still, but her knuckles had gone white. 14 operators are dead because of him, Ashford said quietly. Your father was the first, but there were 13 others. 13 families who were told their sons and husbands died serving their country, when the truth is they died because someone in their own chain of command sold them out. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Kira spoke. Her voice was steady, cold, the voice of someone who'd learned long ago how to separate emotion from mission. What do you need me to do? Ashford pulled out another photograph. This one showed a man in civilian clothes. Lean, weathered features. The kind of face that belonged to someone who'd seen too much and forgotten how to smile. Garrett Blackwell, former SEAL, later CIA, went private 5 years ago. He's Stone's contact, the one buying the intelligence and selling it to foreign governments. And the mission? In 72 hours, Stone is scheduled to attend a Marine Raider assessment at Camp Pendleton. While he's there, he's going to make an exchange with Blackwell, a USB drive containing the next 6 months of Ohio-class submarine patrol routes. Ashford leaned forward. If that information gets out, every nuclear submarine in the Pacific becomes a target. We're talking about the cornerstone of our strategic deterrent. You want me to stop the exchange? I want you to confirm it, gather evidence, make the arrest if possible. But most importantly, I want you to bring me proof that will stand up in court. Stone has connections at every level. We need this to be airtight. Kira was quiet for a moment, processing, planning, the gears in her head already turning. Why me? Ashford smiled. It was a sad smile, the smile of someone who knew the answer would hurt. Because you're the best we have, and because this is personal for you. Personal doesn't equal effective. No, but it equals motivated, and motivation is what we need right now. Ashford paused. Your father spent 28 years serving this country. He died believing in the system, believing that the men above him were worthy of his trust. I'm not asking you to get revenge, Kira. I'm asking you to make sure his sacrifice meant something, to make sure the system he believed in is worthy of that belief. Kira picked up the photograph of Stone, studied it, memorized every detail, the way he smiled, the way he held himself, the arrogance in his eyes. When do I leave? Tomorrow morning. You'll go in as a Pentagon contractor. Tactical assessment specialist. Your cover is solid. Colonel Dalton Merrick is your contact on base. He served with your father back in the 90s. He knows who you are and why you're really there. And if Stone figures it out, then you abort and we extract you. Ashford leaned back. But I don't think he will. Men like Stone see what they want to see. They'll look at you and see a woman, a civilian, someone to be dismissed. They won't see ghost. At the mention of her call sign, Kira's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes just for a second. One more thing, Ashford said. She pulled out a final photograph. This one was old, faded. It showed a young man in BUD/S training gear, covered in mud, grinning like an idiot. James Vance, 24 years old, 6 months before he graduated and became a SEAL. Your father was the best operator I ever served with, Ashford said quietly. He taught me more about being a warrior than anyone else in my entire career. And the last thing he said to me 3 days before he died was this: if anything ever happens to me, make sure someone looks out for my daughter. Make sure she stays cold, but make sure she doesn't become cold. Kira stared at the photograph, her father's face, so young, so full of life. She reached under her shirt and pulled out a thin silver chain. On it hung 2 dog tags, scratched, worn, the metal warm from her body heat. Master Chief James Vance, United States Navy SEAL. I won't let you down, Dad, she whispered. Camp Pendleton, California. Day 1, 0500 hours, 72 hours until exchange. The sky was still dark when Kira arrived at the assessment staging area. She'd spent the night in temporary quarters, hadn't slept, didn't need to. She'd learned long ago how to function on adrenaline and willpower, how to push her body past the point where normal people quit. Her father had taught her that. He'd taught her a lot of things. The parade ground was empty when she crossed it. Just her in the desert wind and the memory of Stone's hand across her face. She touched her lip, still swollen, still tender. The bruise on her jaw was already forming. Purple and angry, she smiled grimly. Let it bruise, let everyone see it. Let them remember what happened when a 2-star admiral lost his temper in front of 2,000 witnesses. The women's bathroom was unlocked. Kira slipped inside, ran cold water over her face. The pain helped, sharpened her focus, reminded her why she was here. The door opened. Colonel Dalton Merrick stepped inside. 54 years old, career Marine, Force Recon, Silver Star recipient, the kind of man who'd earned every scar on his body and then some. He was also one of the few people on this base who knew the truth. That was either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've ever seen, Merrick said. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, but his eyes were concerned. I'm not sure which. Kira looked at him in the mirror. He hit me first. He's a 2-star admiral. You're supposed to be a civilian contractor. I'm supposed to be a lot of things. Merrick walked closer. His footsteps echoed on the tile floor. Let me see your face. Kira turned. The bruise was already spreading, dark purple against her pale skin. Her lip was swollen, split. It would need attention. You should go to medical, Merrick said. I've had worse. I know you have. That's what worries me. Kira turned back to the mirror, pressed a wet paper towel against her lip. The cold helped, but not much. The physical pain didn't bother her. She'd endured things that would break most people. Combat injuries, training accidents, the kind of pain that rewires your nervous system. What bothered her was the rage. 16 years of SEAL training, 16 years of learning to control every emotion, every impulse, every natural human reaction. And right now, every instinct she had was screaming at her to go back out there and put Richard Stone in the ground. He's dirty, Colonel, she said quietly. You know it. I know it. That's why I'm here. Merrick's jaw tightened. I know, but the timeline. The exchange is in 72 hours. Stone is going to sell those submarine routes to Blackwell. If that information gets out, every Ohio-class submarine in the Pacific becomes a target. We're talking about nuclear deterrent capabilities. Thousands of lives. Kira's eyes met his in the mirror. I know the stakes, sir. I helped write the briefing. You're supposed to observe and report, not engage. He engaged me first. Kira. My name is not Kira. Her voice had changed, gone cold. The voice of an operator, not a daughter, not a person, a weapon. My name is Ghost. I've been a SEAL since I was 22 years old. I have 127 confirmed kills across 4 combat deployments. I have a Medal of Honor that I'm not allowed to wear and a service record that doesn't officially exist. She turned to face him. I came here to do a job, Colonel, and one pompous admiral with a power complex isn't going to stop me. Neither is your concern for my well-being. I appreciate it, but I don't need it. Merrick was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised her. Your father would be proud of you. The coldness in Kira's eyes flickered, just for a second, just enough to show that somewhere beneath the operator there was still a human being. My father is dead, she said, because of intelligence leaks, because someone in the military sold information that got his team killed. Someone I'm about to take down. She paused. So no, Colonel, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to find out exactly what happened. I'm going to gather the evidence we need, and I'm going to make sure Richard Stone pays for every single life he destroyed. Merrick nodded slowly. What do you need? Time, access, and for you to keep Stone busy while I work. He's not going to let this go. He'll come after you. Kira's lips curved into a humorless smile. I'm counting on it. Stone's office 0700 hours, Admiral Richard Stone stood at his window, staring down at the parade ground below. His hand was still tingling where she'd grabbed him. That grip, that impossible grip. Who the hell was she? He'd pulled her file immediately after the ceremony. Kira Vance, Pentagon contractor, tactical assessment specialist, security clearance so high that half her file was redacted. No military service on record, no combat experience. Nothing that explained how a woman in her late 30s could move like that. His phone rang, secure line. Stone picked it up without taking his eyes off the parade ground. Yes, we have a problem. The voice was cold, measured, familiar. Garrett Blackwell. I'm aware, Stone said. There's a Pentagon observer on base. She's Spanish. I know who she is. The question is whether you can handle her. She's nobody. Some contractor they sent to check boxes. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, she caught your arm in mid-strike, Richard, in front of 2,000 Marines. Does that sound like nobody to you? Stone swallowed. His wrist was still sore from where she'd gripped it. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that your casual attitude may have already compromised our arrangement. The exchange happens in 3 days. If she interferes, she won't. How can you be certain? Stone sat down heavily in his chair. His mind was racing, searching for solutions. Then it came to him. The Marine Raider assessment, he said slowly. 3 days of the most brutal evaluation in the military. If I can force her into it, force her how, I'll file a formal complaint. Insubordination, conduct unbecoming, threatening a superior officer. Stone was warming to the idea now. I'll give her a choice. Complete the assessment to prove her credentials, or be arrested and removed from base. Either way, she'll be too busy surviving to notice anything else. Exactly. Another long pause. Then Blackwell laughed. It was a cold sound, like ice cracking. Clever, Richard. Very clever. But be warned, if this fails, there will be consequences. Not just for the operation. For you personally. The line went dead. Stone sat in the darkness, thinking. The woman Kira, if that was even her real name, was dangerous. He could feel it. Every instinct honed over 30 years in the Navy was screaming at him. But he hadn't survived 3 decades by backing down from threats. He picked up his phone and dialed Colonel Merrick's office. Colonel, I want that contractor in my office. Now, we have some things to discuss. Stone's office 0900 hours. Kira walked into Stone's office exactly 30 minutes later. She'd cleaned up, changed into fresh clothes. Still the olive V-neck, still the cargo pants. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. The bruise on her jaw was darker now, impossible to hide. She made no attempt to hide it. Stone was waiting behind his desk. 2 Marines flanked him like bodyguards. Colonel Merrick stood by the window, his face carefully neutral. Miss Vance, Stone said. He didn't offer her a seat. I've spent the last hour reviewing the incident on the parade ground, and I've come to a decision. Kira said nothing, just waited. You assaulted a flag officer in front of 2,000 Marines. You interfered with an official ceremony. You demonstrated conduct completely unbefitting someone claiming to represent the Pentagon. I stopped you from hitting me a second time, sir. Stone's eye twitched. Regardless, I'm filing formal charges. However, given your unique position, I'm prepared to offer an alternative. What kind of alternative? Stone smiled. It was the smile of a predator who thought he'd cornered his prey. The Marine Raider Assessment, 3 days of physical and mental evaluation, the same test we use to select our most elite operators. If you complete it successfully, I'll drop all charges and allow you to continue your assignment. Merrick stepped forward. Sir, that's completely... I wasn't talking to you, Colonel. Kira's expression didn't change. And if I refuse, then I'll have you arrested for assaulting a superior officer. You'll be removed from base in handcuffs. Your security clearance will be revoked. And whatever little assignment brought you here will be terminated immediately. The room went quiet. Everyone was watching Kira, waiting for her response, waiting for her to crack, to beg, to back down. This was the moment Stone lived for, the moment when his enemies realized they had no options left. Kira was quiet for exactly 10 seconds. Then she laughed. It wasn't a nervous laugh. It wasn't a defiant laugh. It was the genuine amused laugh of someone who'd just been told a very good joke. What's so funny? Stone demanded. Nothing, Admiral. Kira stepped closer to his desk. I just find it interesting that you think 3 days of physical discomfort is going to intimidate me. She leaned in, close enough that only he could hear her next words. I'll do your assessment. I'll complete every task, pass every evaluation, and break every record your precious raiders have ever set. And when I'm done, you're going to wish you just let me do my job. She straightened, turned to Merrick. Colonel, please inform the assessment cadre that I'll report at 0500 tomorrow morning. I assume Admiral Stone wants to observe personally? Merrick nodded slowly, his eyes wide. Good. Kira walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Admiral, you might want to ice that wrist. It's going to bruise. She walked out without looking back. Stone stared at the empty doorway for a longer moment. His wrist was throbbing. His face was hot. And somewhere deep in his gut, that voice was screaming again, telling him he'd just made a terrible mistake. He silenced it with another sip of coffee. The woman was bluffing. She had to be. Nobody could survive the Marine Raider assessment without extensive military training. By tomorrow night, she'd be broken, bleeding, and begging to go home. He was sure of it. Absolutely sure. Day 1 at Bryn. 0500 hours assessment staging area. The desert air was cold. That particular kind of cold that comes just before dawn, when the world is caught between darkness and light. Kira stood outside the assessment staging area, dressed in standard-issue PT gear that someone had reluctantly provided. Gray shirt, black shorts, running shoes that had seen better days. Around her, 15 other candidates milled nervously, all men, all Marine officers, all staring at her like she'd grown a second head. She ignored them. Her mind was elsewhere, running through the mission parameters. 72 hours until the exchange. 72 hours to gather evidence, to confirm Stone's involvement, to bring down a man who'd spent 6 years selling out his own people, a man who'd killed her father. The door to the main building opened. Light spilled out into the pre-dawn darkness. Master Gunnery Sergeant Silas Brennan emerged, 58 years old, built like a tank with 35 years of hard use, face that looked like it had been carved from desert stone, eyes that had seen combat in the Persian Gulf and every conflict since. His voice carried across the staging area like a thunderclap. Listen up, for the next 72 hours you belong to me. You will eat when I say eat, sleep when I say sleep, breathe when I say breathe. He walked slowly past the candidates, examining each one with the eye of a butcher selecting livestock. Anyone who quits will be removed immediately. Anyone who fails will be removed immediately. Anyone who pisses me off will be removed painfully. He stopped in front of Kira. Well, what do we have here? Candidate Vance, Master Gunnery Sergeant. Candidate Vance, Brennan said her name slowly, testing it. I've been doing this job for 35 years, never once had a female candidate, never once had a civilian candidate, and now I've got both wrapped up in one package. Kira said nothing, just stood at attention, eyes forward. Brennan leaned in close. His breath smelled like coffee and old tobacco. Let me be clear. I don't know what strings you pulled to get here. I don't care what important people you know. In my assessment, there are no politics, no special treatment, no mercy. You will be held to the same standard as every Marine on this field. He paused. And when you quit, because you will quit, I will personally escort you to the gate. Understood? Understood, Master Gunnery Sergeant. Do you have anything to say? Kira finally met his eyes. Just one thing, Master Gunnery Sergeant. What's that? I don't quit. Ever. Brennan stared at her for a long moment. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or the faintest hint of respect. Then it was gone. We'll see about that. He turned back to the group. First evolution, 25-mile forced march, 85-pound pack, 4-hour cutoff. Anyone who doesn't make it is done. He checked his watch. Move out in 5 minutes. The candidates scrambled to gear up. Kira moved to the equipment station. Shouldered her pack, exactly 85 pounds, no more, no less. Adjusted the straps with practiced efficiency. One of the other candidates sidled up beside her, Captain Torres, mid-30s, confident swagger, the kind of man who'd never been told no in his entire life. You know this is insane, right? Torres said. Women aren't built for this kind of punishment. No offense. Kira tightened her final strap. Then I guess you'd better try to keep up. She walked to the starting line without looking back. Mile 15. 3 candidates had already dropped out. Heat casualties. 2 more were flagging badly, stumbling along at the back of the pack like wounded animals. Kira was in 3rd place. Her legs were screaming. Her shoulders felt like they were being torn apart by the pack straps. Every breath burned like fire in her lungs. She didn't slow down. Master Gunnery Sergeant Brennan drove alongside in a Humvee, watching the candidates with cold assessment. Every few minutes his eyes would drift to Kira, waiting for her to fall, waiting for her to quit. She never gave him the satisfaction. Picking up the pace, Brennan called out suddenly. The Humvee surged forward. Kira shifted gears, opened up her stride, pushed past the 2 candidates ahead of her. Her body was running on autopilot now. Muscle memory from 1,000 training runs, from BUD/S, from Hell Week. From every brutal morning, her father had dragged her out of bed at 4 a.m. to run the beach. Don't stop until your legs give out, he used to say, and then keep going anyway. She could hear his voice now, clear as day. The desert wind tore at her face. The sun hammered down without mercy. Sweat poured into her eyes, salt stung, vision blurred. She kept running. Mile 20, mile 22, mile 24. The finish line appeared in the distance, a simple flag planted in the sand. Kira crossed it with 8 minutes to spare. Brennan was waiting, stopwatch in hand, face unreadable. Time, he said flatly, 3 hours, 38 minutes. Best female time in the history of this assessment. Kira straightened, breathing hard but controlled. Her heart rate was already dropping, coming back down from the red zone. What's the best time overall, Master Gunnery Sergeant? Brennan's eyes narrowed. 3 hours, 45 minutes, set by a Force Recon Marine in 2018. So I beat it, by 7 minutes. The other candidates were still struggling in, one by one, exhausted, broken. Some of them collapsed immediately. Others bent double, vomiting onto the sand. Kira stood tall, waiting. Brennan walked closer, lowered his voice so only she could hear. Who are you? He asked quietly. Really? Kira met his gaze. I'm just a civilian contractor, Master Gunnery Sergeant. Didn't you hear? She walked toward the recovery area. Brennan watched her go, his mind racing. That kind of performance, that kind of efficiency, that kind of control. He'd seen it before, but only in one place. The teams, Navy SEALs. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Yeah, it's Brennan. I need you to run a deep background check on someone. Name is Kira Vance, Pentagon contractor. He paused, watching Kira's figure disappear into the distance. And Jim, whatever you find, I want to know immediately, because something about this woman doesn't add up, and I'm going to find out what. Stone's office, 1300 hours. Admiral Richard Stone received his first report on the assessment at exactly 1300 hours. She finished the march. His voice was incredulous. He was staring at the paper like it had personally insulted him. In under 4 hours. Yes, sir. His aide stood at attention. Uncomfortable. 3rd fastest time in assessment history. Fastest female time ever recorded. Stone crumpled the paper, threw it across the room. Impossible. It had to be impossible. She was just some Pentagon bureaucrat who happened to be in good shape. That's all. Lucky genetics. Maybe she'd run track in college. By tomorrow, the real evolutions would begin. Hand-to-hand combat, stress inoculation, sleep deprivation. Things that broke men twice her size. Men with years of combat experience. She would fail. She had to fail. Because if she didn't, if she completed the assessment and stayed on base, then everything he'd built over the last 6 years was at risk. The deals, the money, the careful web of betrayal that had made him a very wealthy man. He picked up his secure phone, dialed. "It's Stone, we may need to accelerate our timeline." He paused. "And we may need to take more direct action regarding our visitor." On the other end, Garrett Blackwell listened carefully. "What kind of action?" Stone stared at his reflection in the window. His face was hard. His eyes were cold. "The permanent kind." Day 2, 0800 hours, hand-to-hand combat evaluation. The training mat was 40 feet square, padded floor, concrete walls, fluorescent lights that made everything look harsh and clinical. Kira stood in the center, surrounded by 15 Marine officers who looked at her like she was a lamb walking into a slaughterhouse. The first day had earned her grudging respect from a few. The rest still thought she was a joke, some Pentagon diversity hire who'd gotten lucky on a run. That was about to change. "Combat evaluation," Brennan announced. His voice carried across the training facility. "Each candidate will face 3 opponents, Marine Raider instructors, full contact, no pads, no mercy. Tap out or knockout ends the round." He turned to Kira. "Candidate Vance, you're first." Of course she was. Kira walked to the center of the mat. Her opponent was already waiting. Staff Sergeant Rivera, 6'2", 220 pounds. Former Golden Gloves boxer. 3 tours in Afghanistan. The kind of man who'd spent his entire adult life learning how to hurt people. He was grinning like Christmas had come early. "Nothing personal, sweetheart," Rivera said, bouncing on his toes, shadowboxing. "But this is going to hurt." Kira didn't respond, just settled into her stance. Relaxed, balanced, waiting. Brennan blew the whistle. Rivera came in fast, throwing a jab-cross combination that would have knocked most people unconscious. Professional form. Perfect technique. Kira slipped both punches by millimeters, flowed inside his guard, drove her elbow into his solar plexus with surgical precision. Rivera doubled over, gasping. She didn't give him time to recover. Knee to the face, forearm across the throat, leg sweep that put him on his back. And then she was on top of him, arm locked around his neck in a textbook rear naked choke. 3 seconds later, Rivera tapped. Total time 11 seconds. The room went dead silent. Kira stood and walked back to her starting position. Her breathing hadn't changed. Her expression hadn't changed. She looked like she'd just finished tying her shoes. "Next," she said quietly. Brennan stared at her, his face a mask. He'd seen that technique before, that exact sequence. It was seal hand-to-hand, advanced level, the kind of thing they only taught at Coronado to operators who'd already proven themselves in combat. He sent his second instructor forward, Sergeant First Class Reyes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, 3 tours in Iraq. Reyes lasted 19 seconds. The third instructor was Master Sergeant Webb, former Army Ranger, 6'4", 240 pounds of muscle and bad intentions. Webb lasted 23 seconds. When it was over, Kira stood alone on the mat, 3 unconscious or groaning men scattered around her, and she wasn't even breathing hard. "Time for all 3 opponents," Brennan announced. His voice was slightly strained. 53 seconds. New assessment record. Previous record was 4 minutes, 12 seconds. Nobody cheered. Nobody moved. They just stared at Kira like they were seeing her for the first time. Because they were. Captain Torres stepped forward slowly. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Kira looked at him with those calm, steady eyes. "My father taught me." "Your father must have been one hell of a soldier." Something flickered in Kira's expression. Pain, loss, love. All of it compressed into a single heartbeat before the mask slammed back down. "He was," she said quietly, "he was the best I ever knew." She walked off the mat without another word. Brennan's office. 1400 hours. Brennan sat at his desk, staring at his phone. The call to Naval Personnel Command had gone through an hour ago. Standard background check, nothing unusual, just a veteran trying to verify the credentials of an observer. The response had come back 10 minutes later. Level 7 classification. Cease all inquiries. Do not approach subject. Do not discuss with anyone. This message will be deleted in 60 seconds. Level 7. Brennan had been Force Recon for 35 years. He'd worked with Delta, with CIA, SAME special activities, with operators so secret they didn't officially exist. He'd never seen a Level 7 classification on anyone until now. Until this 38-year-old woman with dark hair and steady eyes who had just destroyed his combat evaluation record like it was a morning jog. "Who the hell are you?" he whispered into the empty room. There was a knock at the door. "Enter." Colonel Dalton Merrick stepped inside. closed the door behind him. The two men looked at each other for a long moment. You know, Brennan said, it wasn't a question. Know what, Master Guns? Don't play games with me, Colonel. That woman out there, Vance, she's not a contractor, she's not Pentagon, and she sure as hell isn't some random civilian who wandered onto base. Merrick sat down heavily. What makes you say that? Because I just watched her dismantle three of my best instructors like they were training dummies. Because she moves like an operator, fights like an operator. And when I tried to run her background, I got a level 7 classification warning. Brennan leaned forward. I've been doing this job for 35 years, sir. I've trained thousands of Marines, hundreds of raiders, and I know what real warriors look like. That woman is the real deal. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Who is she? Merrick was quiet for a long moment, weighing options, calculating risks. Then he made a decision. If I tell you, it stays between us. No reports, no documentation, no conversations with anyone else. Agreed. Her name is Kira Vance. She's 38 years old, Navy SEAL, 16 years of service. Call sign Ghost. Brennan's face went pale. Ghost, he breathed. Jesus Christ. You're telling me Ghost is real? Very real. And she's here on a classified mission. What kind of mission? Merrick stood, walked to the window, looked out at the training ground where Kira was currently doing push-ups. 200, 300. Like she had something to prove to herself. 6 years ago, intelligence leaks started coming out of the upper echelons of Naval Command. Submarine patrol routes, SEAL deployment schedules, signal intercept protocols. 14 operators are dead because of those leaks. He turned back to Brennan. One of those operators was Master Chief James Vance, Kira's father. Brennan's jaw dropped. Master Chief Vance, the James Vance from SEAL Team 7. You knew him. He was my BUD/S instructor in 1994. Best teacher I ever had. Taught me more about being a warrior than anyone else in my entire career. Brennan's voice was thick. I heard he died in Afghanistan, Taliban ambush. We were told it was bad luck. Wrong place, wrong time. It wasn't bad luck. It was betrayal. Someone in his own chain of command sold his team's location to the enemy. They never had a chance. And Kira is here to find out who. Admiral Stone, we have evidence linking him to 6 years of espionage, but we need proof. Concrete, undeniable proof that will hold up in court. Brennan sat back down, his mind reeling. Ghost, the legend, the operator that everyone in Special Operations had heard about but no one had ever met. The youngest female to complete BUD/S, 127 confirmed kills. Medal of Honor recipient whose service record was so classified that most people thought she was a myth, and she'd been standing right in front of him all morning. What do you need from me? Brennan asked. In 24 hours, Stone is going to make an exchange with a foreign operative. Classified submarine data. Kira needs to be there to confirm it, to make the arrest. But she can't do that if she's in the middle of your assessment. You need me to give her an out. Can you do it? Brennan thought for a moment. Day 3, final evolution, urban combat simulation, live fire. I can create a diversion. Medical emergency, pull the evaluators away, give her maybe 15-20 minutes. That might be enough. But if this goes wrong, Colonel, if she gets caught, if Stone figures out what's happening, then we're both finished. Court-martial, prison, everything. Brennan nodded slowly, then stood and extended his hand. Master Chief Vance was the best man I ever served with. If his daughter is hunting the bastard who killed him, then I'm in all the way. Merrick shook his hand. Thank you, Master Guns. Don't thank me yet. We still have to survive the next 48 hours. Stone's private residence, 2,000 hours. Admiral Richard Stone sat in his study, expensive scotch in one hand, secure phone in the other. She's not just good, Garrett. She's exceptional. 3 of my best combat instructors couldn't touch her. On the other end of the line, Garrett Blackwell was silent for a moment. You're worried. I'm cautious. There's a difference. Is there? Blackwell's voice was cold. Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you've underestimated this woman. Again. Stone took a long drink. I want to know everything about her. Everything. Background, training, who she really works for. I already have people looking into it. But Richard, there's something you should know. What? Kira Vance, that name. It's familiar to me. From where? Blackwell paused. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, gone harder, colder. Afghanistan, 4 years ago. The operation that went sideways. The SEAL team we compromised. Stone's blood ran cold. The team leader was James Vance, Master Chief, SEAL Team 7. I remember. He had a daughter, only child, followed him into the military. Blackwell's voice was almost a whisper now. Her first name was Kira. The room seemed to tilt. You're telling me, I'm telling you that the woman you just challenged to a physical assessment is the daughter of a man we killed, a man whose death she's probably been investigating for 4 years. Stone stood up, started pacing. If she knows, if she's here because she knows, then we're already compromised. The question is how much proof she has, and whether we can eliminate her before she uses it. We can't just kill a Pentagon contractor, not on a military base. The scrutiny. Training accidents happen all time, Richard, especially in live fire exercises. Blackwell paused. Tomorrow is day 3, urban combat simulation, real ammunition, lots of opportunities for things to go wrong. You want me to have her killed during the assessment. I want you to neutralize a threat. How you do it is up to you. But Garrett, if you don't handle this, I will. And my methods are considerably less subtle. The line went dead. Stone stood in his study, the scotch forgotten, his mind racing. Kira Vance, James Vance's daughter, here, on his base, hunting him. He walked to his safe, opened it, pulled out a file he'd kept for 4 years. Inside was a letter, handwritten, addressed to Kira Vance, written by her father 3 days before he died. Stone had intercepted it, kept it as a trophy. A reminder of his power, his reach. He opened the letter, read the first few lines. My dearest Kira, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home. Stone folded the letter carefully, put it back in the safe. James Vance had been a problem. A SEAL who'd gotten too close to discovering the truth, too close to connecting the dots. So Stone had sold him out, sent him into an ambush. Watched from thousands of miles away as the reports came in. Team 7 wiped out, no survivors. Problem solved, but he'd made one mistake. He'd assumed the daughter wouldn't be a problem, that she'd grieve and move on, that she'd never have the skills or resources to come after him. He'd been wrong. Stone picked up his phone, made a call. This is Admiral Stone. I need to speak with the assessment cadre. Tomorrow's final evolution. I want to make some changes to the scenario. Day 2, 1800 hours. Sear stress inoculation phase. The cell was 8 feet by 6 feet. Concrete walls, concrete floor, no windows. A single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. Kira sat in the center, hands zip-tied behind her back, hood over her head, music blaring at ear-splitting volume through speakers mounted in the corners. They'd been at her for 6 hours straight. Different interrogators, different techniques, all designed to find her breaking point. They hadn't found it yet. The door opened, new footsteps, heavier than the instructors, more deliberate. Remove the hood. That voice. She knew that voice. Admiral Richard Stone. Light flooded Kira's eyes as the hood came off. She blinked twice, adjusted, and found herself face to face with the man who had killed her father. Leave us, Stone ordered the guards. They hesitated. This wasn't protocol. Candidates weren't supposed to have contact with anyone outside the assessment cadre during stress inoculation. I said, leave us. They left. Stone pulled up a chair, sat directly in front of Kira, close enough that she could see the vein pulsing in his temple, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. I've been watching you, he said softly. The march, the combat evaluations, the way you've handled every challenge we've thrown at you. He leaned closer. You're not a civilian contractor, are you, Miss Vance? Kira's face remained blank. I don't know what you mean, Admiral. Don't play games with me. I've spent 30 years in this Navy. I know an operator when I see one. The way you move, the way you fight, the way you look at people like you're calculating exactly how to kill them. He grabbed her chin, forced her to meet his eyes. Who sent you CADI, Naval Intelligence? Kira held his gaze without flinching. The Pentagon sent me to observe your training protocols. That's all. Liar. Prove it. Stone's grip tightening. I don't need to prove anything. I'm a 2-star Admiral. You're nobody. And if you think completing this assessment is going to protect you, you're wrong. I can make you disappear. I've done it before. Kira's eyes flickered, just for a second, but Stone caught it. That got your attention, didn't it? He smiled coldly. You think you know things about me. You think you're here to find something. But you have no idea what you're dealing with. I have friends in places you can't imagine. Friends who would do anything to protect our arrangement. What arrangement would that be, Admiral? Stone laughed. Nice try, but I didn't survive this long by being stupid. He released her chin and stood. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to fail this assessment. I don't care how good you are. Tomorrow's evolution will break you. And when it does, you're going to disappear. Quietly, permanently. No one will ever know what happened to you. He walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Miss Vance, that father of yours, the one who taught you to fight. He glanced back over his shoulder. Master Chief James Vance, Navy SEAL, died in Afghanistan 4 years ago during a classified operation. Kira's blood ran cold. Intelligence leak wasn't it, Stone continued. Someone sold his team's location to the enemy. They never found out who. He smiled. Such a tragedy. The door closed behind him. Kira sat alone in the darkness, her whole body trembling, not with fear, with rage. Pure, white-hot, uncontrollable rage. Stone knew about her father, knew how he died, knew about the intelligence leak, which meant he was involved. Not just suspected, confirmed. Richard Stone had sold the information that killed James Vance. Kira's father had died because of the man who had just walked out of this room. She closed her eyes, forced herself to breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Control, discipline, focus. She opened her eyes. Something had changed in them, something fundamental. The emptiness was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. Purpose, day 3, 0500 hours, 40 hours into the assessment. Kira hadn't slept, didn't need to. The mission was keeping her awake, keeping her sharp, keeping her focused on the single goal that now consumed her entire existence. Richard Stone was going to pay. Not just for the treason, not just for the secrets he'd sold, for her father. For James Vance, who had died alone in an Afghan desert because a 2-star admiral had decided that money was worth more than loyalty. The other candidates had noticed the change in her. They kept their distance now, watching her with a mixture of awe and fear. Even Brennan seemed unsettled, his usual harsh demeanor softened by something that looked almost like concern. "Candidate Vance," he said during a rare break, "you need to sleep. You've been awake for almost 2 days." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're operating on adrenaline and willpower. That's not sustainable." Kira turned to look at him, really look at him. "Master Gunnery Sergeant, do you have children?" The question caught him off guard. 2 daughters, 12 and 15. "Would you die for them?" Without hesitation. "Would you kill for them?" Brennan was quiet for a long moment. "If someone threatened my girls, yeah, I'd kill for them. I'd burn down the whole world if I had to." Kira nodded slowly. "My father felt the same way about me. He spent 18 years teaching me everything he knew. How to shoot, how to fight, how to survive. He made me who I am." She paused. "And then someone took him away from me. Sold information that led to his death. And that someone is still walking around free, wearing a uniform, pretending to be a patriot." Brennan's face had gone pale. "Candidate Vance, I'm going to find that person, Master Gunnery Sergeant. And when I do, I'm going to make sure they answer for what they did. Not just to my father, to every operator who's ever died because someone in their own military decided to betray them." She walked away before he could respond. Brennan stood there for a long time, his mind racing. Level 7 classification, a father who was a SEAL, accusations of treason against someone on this base. He pulled out his phone, made another call. "This is Brennan. I need everything you can find on Master Chief James Vance. Navy SEAL, died in Afghanistan 4 years ago." He paused and cross-referenced it with any intelligence leaks that might have been connected to his mission. "I don't care what protocols you have to break. I need answers. Now." He hung up, looked toward where Kira had disappeared. Something was very wrong here, and in 14 hours when that final evolution began, everything was going to come to a head. He just hoped they'd all survive it. Merrick's office, 0900 hours. Colonel Dalton Merrick sat at his desk, staring at the evidence spread before him. 6 years of financial records, offshore accounts, wire transfers, all meticulously documented by naval intelligence over months of surveillance. Admiral Richard Stone had made $8.7 million selling classified information. 14 operators were dead as a direct result, and in 5 hours he was going to make another exchange. Submarine patrol routes worth billions on the black market. Merrick's phone buzzed. Encrypted text from Commander Victoria Ashford. "Exchange confirmed. 1,400 hours. Supply building Delta. Blackwell arriving by helicopter. Stone scheduled to leave base immediately after. This is our only window." Merrick read the message twice, then deleted it. 5 hours. 5 hours until Kira would have to break away from the assessment, infiltrate the exchange site, gather evidence, make the arrest. all while surrounded by 2,000 Marines who thought she was just some Pentagon contractor. It was impossible, completely impossible. But if anyone could do it, it was Ghost. He stood, walked to the window, watched the assessment candidates running obstacle courses in the distance. Somewhere out there, Kira Vance was preparing for the most important mission of her career, the mission that would finally bring justice for her father. Merrick picked up his phone, called Brennan. Master Guns, it's time. Final evolution begins at 1300 hours. I need that diversion at 1330. Can you do it? Brennan's voice was steady. I can do it, sir. But Colonel, if she gets caught, if this goes wrong, then we make sure it doesn't go wrong. Because failure isn't an option. Not for her, not for us, and not for the memory of every operator who died because of Richard Stone. Understood, sir. Merrick hung up. Outside, the sun was climbing higher. The temperature was rising, the desert heat building toward another scorching afternoon, and somewhere in the distance, a helicopter was warming up its engines, carrying a man named Garrett Blackwell, carrying $8 million in submarine secrets, carrying the key to bringing down a traitor. The final evolution was about to begin. Day 3, 1300 hours. Final evolution. Urban combat simulation. The mock village sat at the eastern edge of Camp Pendleton. 40 structures built to replicate an Afghan compound. Concrete walls, narrow alleyways, rooftops perfect for snipers. 6 candidates remained, all men except one. Kira stood with her team in the staging area, M4A1 carbine in her hands. Magazine loaded with live ammunition. AN/PVS-31 night observation devices clipped to her helmet. Tactical radio in her ear. This was the most dangerous evolution of the assessment. Real bullets, real consequences. People had been injured here before. Some had died. Master Gunnery Sergeant Brennan stood before them, face grim. Final evolution. Urban combat simulation. You'll be divided into 2 teams. One defends a high-value target in the village. One attacks. You'll swap roles after 4 hours. Highest combined score wins. He paused, looked at each candidate in turn. This is live fire. Real ammunition. Real stakes. If any of you want to withdraw, now is the time. Nobody moved. Good. Teams will be assigned randomly. Report to your squad leaders at 13:15. Exercise begins at 13:30. The candidates dispersed. Kira stayed behind. Brennan approached her, lowered his voice. 13:30. Medical emergency in Sector 4. All evaluators will be called to the command post. You'll have approximately 20 minutes. That's cutting it close. It's all I can give you. Stone scheduled the exchange for 1400 hours. If you're not there, I'll be there. Brennan looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd spent 3 days demolishing every record his assessment had ever set. This operator who'd lost her father to betrayal and come here seeking justice. Master Chief Vance would be proud of you, he said quietly. Kira's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. I hope so, Master Gunnery Sergeant. I really hope so. She turned and walked toward her team. Brennan watched her go, then pulled out his radio. All evaluators, be advised. We'll be conducting an emergency medical drill at 13:30. Stand by for my signal. He looked at his watch. 15 minutes. 15 minutes until everything changed. 13:30 hours. The exercise was in full swing. Gunfire echoed across the mock village. Flashbangs detonated in enclosed spaces. Radio chatter filled the airways with coordinates and contact reports. Kira moved through the compound with her team. Weapon raised, senses on high alert. She was performing well enough to avoid suspicion. But her mind was elsewhere. Supply Building Delta, 500 meters east, where Admiral Richard Stone would meet Garrett Blackwell in exactly 30 minutes. Her radio crackled. Brennan's voice, urgent. All teams, medical emergency in Sector 4. All evaluators report to command post immediately. Repeat, all evaluators to command post. Captain Torres, the team leader, frowned. What the hell, that's not part of the scenario. Must be real, another candidate said. They're pulling everyone. Torres looked at Kira. Vance, I need you to recon the eastern perimeter. I saw movement earlier. 5 minutes. Then catch up. Kira nodded. Understood, sir. Before he could change his mind, she was gone. 1340 hours. Kira moved fast, using every bit of her SEAL training to cover ground without being seen. 500 meters became 400. 300. 200. Supply Building Delta came into view, isolated, no guards visible. Either Stone was confident in his secrecy or he'd already cleared the area. Probably both. Kira slowed, controlled her breathing, approached from the blind side. The building was old, corrugated metal roof, concrete block walls, small windows set high, single door on the west side. She pressed against the wall, listened. Voices inside, two distinct, one American, one different, harder to place. Stone and Blackwell. Kira pulled out her phone, activated the recording app, slipped it into her breast pocket, microphone pointing forward. Then she drew her sidearm. M45, A1CQ, BP, 12 rounds, 45 caliber. Enough. 13:55 hours. Inside the building, Admiral Richard Stone held a USB drive in his hand. Black plastic. Innocent looking. Worth billions. The routes are all here, Stone said. Every Ohio-class submarine patrol pattern for the next 6 months. Deployment schedules, communication protocols, emergency procedures. Garrett Blackwell stood across from him. 48 years old, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much death. He was examining the USB drive with professional interest. Blackwell had been many things: SEAL team operator, CIA contractor, and now something else entirely. A ghost who sold secrets to the highest bidder. And the encryption, Blackwell asked. Standard AES 256, your people should have no trouble breaking it. I've provided the cipher keys separately. The price, $5 million, same as always. Half now, half on delivery confirmation. Blackwell nodded, pulled out a tablet, tapped several commands. Stone's phone buzzed. Offshore account notification. $2.5 million deposited. There's something I should know, Blackwell said. About the woman, Kira Vance. Stone's jaw tightened. What about her? I've been doing some digging, and Richard, I think you need to hear this. Blackwell paused. She's not just any contractor. She's James Vance's daughter. The color drained from Stone's face. You're certain to bond positive, and there's more. She didn't just follow her father into the military. She followed him into the teams. Kira Vance is a Navy SEAL. Has been for 16 years. Call sign Ghost. Stone sat down heavily. Ghost. The Ghost. She's been here this whole time. And now she's less than 24 hours away from completing your assessment, which means tomorrow she'll have full access to this base, full access to investigate, full access to find evidence. We need to eliminate her. Today. During the exercise. Blackwell shook his head. Too obvious. Too many witnesses. But there's another way. He leaned forward. I can handle it personally. After the exchange. Make it look like she disappeared when AWOL happens to contractors all the time. Tonight, after she completes the assessment, after everyone thinks the threat is over. Blackwell's smile was cold. She'll never see it coming. The door exploded inward. Kira stepped through, weapon raised, voice steady. Admiral Richard Stone, Garrett Blackwell, you're both under arrest for treason, espionage, and conspiracy to commit murder. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Stone and Blackwell stared at her in shock. This woman, this operator, standing there with a service weapon pointed directly at Stone's chest. You, Stone breathed. How did you? Hands up, both of you, now. Blackwell's hand moved toward his waistband. I wouldn't, Kira said. But Blackwell was already drawing. His weapon came up fast. Professional. Years of training. Kira was faster. 13:56 hours. 2 shots. Both center mass. The M45 kicked hard in her hand. 45 caliber rounds punched into Blackwell's chest. Body armor absorbed most of the impact, but not all. He stumbled backward, fired. His round went wide, punched through the corrugated metal roof. Kira was already moving, diving left, rolling behind a stack of supply crates. Kill her, Stone screamed. He was scrambling for cover, the USB drive forgotten on the floor. Blackwell recovered faster than expected. He was wounded, but not out. Years of combat experience kept him moving, kept him fighting. He came around the crates, weapon searching. Kira wasn't there. She'd flanked him, moving silent as a ghost. The call sign she'd earned through 4 combat deployments. 127 confirmed kills, about to be 128. But then something stopped her. A memory, her father's voice. The day killing becomes easy is the day you stop being human, baby girl. She hesitated. 1 second, maybe 2. Blackwell spun, saw her, fired. The round caught her in the shoulder. Impact spun her around, dropped her to one knee. Pain exploded through her body. White hot, overwhelming. Blood poured from the wound, soaking her uniform. Blackwell advanced, weapon aimed at her head. 16 years, he said. His voice was cold. detached. 16 years you've been hunting us, and it ends here. He stepped closer. You want to know something? I was there. Afghanistan, 4 years ago. I coordinated the ambush that killed your father's team. I watched through binoculars while Master Chief James Vance bled out in the dirt. Kira looked up at him, through the pain, through the rage. You're lying. Am I? Blackwell smiled. It was a terrible smile. He called out your name before he died. Did you know that your father's last words were, "Tell Kira I'm sorry"? But I never delivered that message, because I wanted you to spend the rest of your life wondering if he thought about you in the end. Something inside Kira snapped. Not the control, not the discipline, something deeper. The part of her that had been holding back, the part that had chosen mercy, the part that had been trying to be the person her father wanted her to be. That part died. What remained was Ghost. She moved before Blackwell could pull the trigger, swept his legs, followed him to the ground. Her wounded shoulder screamed in protest. She ignored it. Her hands found his throat. Not a choke, a crush. Fingers pressed into his windpipe with every ounce of strength she had left. Blackwell thrashed, clawed at her arms, but 16 years of SEAL training, 16 years of learning how to kill with maximum efficiency, 40 seconds. That's all it took. Blackwell's eyes went wide, then empty. His body went limp. Kira held on for another 10 seconds, making sure, making certain. Then she released him, stood. Her shoulder was on fire, blood was running down her arm, dripping onto the concrete floor. She didn't care. She turned toward where Stone had been hiding. He was gone. A door at the back of the building stood open, swinging in the breeze. 1,400 hours. Admiral Richard Stone ran like his life depended on it, because it did. He'd grabbed the USB drive, burst through the back door, sprinted toward the helicopter pad where his extraction was waiting. Behind him, he could hear footsteps, steady, relentless. The sound of someone who would not stop, would never stop. The helicopter was there, rotors spinning, pilot waving urgently. 50 meters, 40, 30, almost there. Something hit him from behind, tackled him to the ground. The USB drive went flying, skittered across the tarmac. Kira, blood-soaked, shoulder hanging at an odd angle, but still moving, still fighting. You killed him, Stone screamed. You killed a federal operative. You're finished. Your career is over. Your life is over. Kira grabbed him by the collar, hauled him to his feet with her good hand. My father was Master Chief James Vance, SEAL Team 7. You sold his location to the enemy. You watched him die, and for 4 years I've been hunting you. Stone's eyes went wide. Vance, you're his daughter. I'm Ghost, and you're going to spend the rest of your miserable life in prison, knowing that the woman you dismissed as nobody brought down your entire empire. Military police vehicles were arriving, sirens wailing. Colonel Merrick jumped out of the lead Humvee, Brennan right behind him. They took in the scene, Stone on his knees, Kira standing over him, blood everywhere. Secure the Admiral, Merrick ordered. He's under arrest for treason. This is outrageous, Stone sputtered. Do you know who I am? I'll have you all court-martialed. You have the right to remain silent, Merrick said calmly. I strongly suggest you exercise it. They dragged Stone away, still screaming, still threatening. Kira stood there, watching him go, feeling nothing. The rage had burned itself out, leaving only emptiness behind. She'd done it, completed the mission, caught her father's killer. So why did she feel so hollow, Kira? She turned. Brennan was approaching, face concerned. You're hit. We need to get you to medical. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're bleeding out. He moved closer. Let me help. Kira looked down at her shoulder. The wound was bad, worse than she'd thought. She was losing blood fast, vision starting to blur. The mission, she said. Did we get everything? The USB, the evidence? We got it all. Stone is finished. Blackwell is dead. The exchange is confirmed. You did it. Good. Her legs gave out. Brennan caught her before she hit the ground. Medic, he shouted. We need a medic now. The world was fading, going gray around the edges. Kira heard her father's voice one last time. Not the words he'd said 1,000 times before. Something new, something she needed to hear. It's okay to rest now, baby girl. You did good. I'm proud of you. Then everything went black. 14 days later, Coronado Naval Medical Center. Kira woke to white ceiling tiles, the smell of antiseptic, Steady beeping of monitors. Hospital. Again. She'd been here before. After a training accident during BUD/S. After a firefight in Kandahar. After a dozen other injuries that should have killed her but didn't. Welcome back. Commander Victoria Ashford sat beside the bed, reading a file. She looked up when Kira stirred. How long? Kira's voice was rough, throat dry. 2 weeks. The bullet nicked your subclavian artery. You lost 3 pints of blood before the medics got you stabilized. Ashford set down the file. You nearly died, Kira. But I didn't. No, you didn't. Ashford stood, walked to the window. Admiral Stone is in custody, military prison, awaiting court-martial. He's been charged with 6 years of espionage, 14 counts of accessory to murder, conspiracy, the works. And Blackwell, dead, officially listed as enemy combatant killed during classified operation. Ashford paused. There will be an inquiry. You killed a man after he'd been wounded. He wasn't wounded enough, and he was still armed. The evidence supports your version of events, body camera footage, witness statements. But Kira, you need to understand, this is going to follow you. I know. Ashford turned back from the window. Was it worth it? What you did? Kira thought about that, about Garrett Blackwell's last words, about her father calling her name as he died, about 4 years of searching for answers. He told me he watched my father die, that Dad called out my name, asked him to deliver a message. Her voice was steady. So yes, Commander, it was worth it. I'm not sure your father would agree. Ashford pulled something from her pocket, an envelope, old, yellowed at the edges. Colonel Merrick found this in Stone's personal effects. It was addressed to you, written 4 years ago. Stone kept it as a trophy. Kira took the envelope with trembling hands, recognized the handwriting immediately. Her father's. The letter. She waited until Ashford left, until she was alone with just the monitors and the beeping and the weight of 4 years of grief. Then she opened it. My dearest Kira, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home. I'm sorry, baby girl. I wanted to be there for your graduation, your wedding, your children. I wanted to grow old and embarrassing and tell stories until you begged me to stop. But sometimes the mission takes everything. I need you to know something. You are the best thing I ever did, not the missions, not the medals, not the legacy. You. I've always known you would follow me into this life. I saw it in your eyes when you were 7 years old. The determination, the hunger, the same fire that drove me. I taught you everything I could, made you strong, capable, resilient. But I need you to understand what I really meant. Control your emotions in battle. But don't let this life turn you into stone. Don't let the killing and the loss and the darknesses take away your humanity. Be the warrior who can destroy her enemies and still feel compassion. Be the operator who finishes the mission and still weeps for the fallen. That's the balance. That's what separates the true warriors from the broken ones. I love you more than words can say. And wherever I am, I will be watching you, cheering you on, believing in you. You are Kira Vance. You are my daughter, and you are going to do extraordinary things. Stay strong, stay focused, stay human, and never let the bastards win. With all my love, Dad. Kira read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Silent, unstoppable. Her father had written this before his final mission, knowing he might not come back. And Stone had kept it, hidden it, denied her this final message for 4 years. She folded the letter carefully, pressed it against her heart. I tried, Dad, she whispered. I tried to stay human. But when I looked into Blackwell's eyes, when he told me what he did to you, she couldn't finish. The door opened. Brennan stepped inside. He'd been waiting outside, giving her privacy. You read it, he said. Yeah. Your father was a good man, the best I ever knew. I killed Blackwell in cold blood, Master Gunnery Sergeant. Not in combat, not in self-defense. I choked him to death while he was wounded. Brennan sat down in the chair Ashford had vacated. You want me to tell you that was wrong? That your father would be disappointed? Yes. I can't do that. He leaned forward. Because I don't know if it was wrong. What I do know is this. You're human. You have a warrior's heart, and sometimes that heart demands payment for the wounds it suffered. That's not what Dad taught me. Maybe not, but your father never faced what you faced. Maybe he never had to choose between perfect justice and imperfect vengeance. Kira was quiet. What happens now, she asked. Now the court-martial. Stone's trial starts in 3 months. You'll testify, and then you'll be reassigned. To where? That's up to you. After what you've done, you can write your own ticket. Camp Pendleton, main parade ground. 4 weeks later. 2,000 Marines stood in formation, the same formation they'd held when Admiral Stone slapped a woman in civilian clothes. But everything was different now. Colonel Merrick stood at the reviewing platform, Commander Ashford beside him, two representatives from Naval Criminal Investigative Service flanking them. Marines of Camp Pendleton, Merrick began, you have been assembled to receive an official briefing on events that occurred on this base 6 weeks ago. He paused. What I am about to tell you is now declassified. Some of it will be difficult to hear, but you need to hear it. The formation was absolutely silent. 6 weeks ago, Rear Admiral Richard Stone struck a woman in front of this formation. You all witnessed it. What you did not know is that the woman he struck was not a civilian contractor. Merrick's voice hardened. She was Lieutenant Commander Kira Vance, United States Navy SEAL, call sign Ghost, and she was operating undercover to investigate one of the largest intelligence leaks in naval history. A murmur rippled through the formation. Ghost. Even Marines had heard that name. Legends whispered in bars and barracks. The youngest female SEAL, 127 confirmed kills. Medal of Honor recipient, whose service record was classified above top secret. Most people thought she was a myth. Admiral Stone sold classified information to foreign intelligence for 6 years. His actions directly resulted in the deaths of 14 American operators, including members of SEAL Team 7 during a mission in Afghanistan 4 years ago. Merrick's voice broke slightly. One of those operators was Master Chief James Vance, Lieutenant Commander Vance's father. The formation went completely still. Stone has been arrested and charged with treason. He will face court-martial. He faces life in prison or execution, and it is all because of the courage of one woman who refused to let her father's death be in vain. He turned toward the side of the platform. Lieutenant Commander Vance has requested the opportunity to address you directly. Kira walked out to the reviewing platform. She was in dress whites. Her shoulder was still healing, still stiff, but she stood tall, spine straight, eyes forward. The bruise on her jaw had long since faded, but everyone remembered it. Everyone remembered the blood, the humiliation, and now they knew the truth. 6 weeks ago, Kira said, her voice carrying across the silent field, I stood right there. She pointed to the exact spot in the formation. Admiral Stone walked up to me, called me names, and struck me across the face hard enough to draw blood. You all saw it. She paused. Nobody moved. Nobody intervened. Not one of you did anything. The words hung in the air. I'm not here to blame you, Kira continued. You did what you were trained to do. You followed the chain of command. You respected rank. You trusted that the system would work. But I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember what it felt like to watch a 2-star admiral assault a subordinate and do nothing. Because that moment is when the system failed. She began walking slowly across the platform. Richard Stone spent 33 years in the Navy. He had medals, commendations, the respect of everyone who served under him, and the whole time he was betraying everything the uniform stands for. Her voice hardened, and nobody questioned him. Nobody looked closer. Nobody wondered if maybe the man in the fancy uniform wasn't worthy of the trust placed in him. She stopped at the center of the platform. My father was Master Chief James Vance, 28 years of service, 4 combat deployments, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. He was the best man I ever knew. Kira pulled out her father's dog tags, held them up so everyone could see. And he died 4 years ago because Richard Stone sold his location to the enemy for money, while the people who were supposed to protect him were busy looking the other way. Several Marines in the formation had tears in their eyes now. I'm not here to lecture you about loyalty or honor or duty. You know those words better than most people ever will. I'm here to tell you something simpler. She lowered the dog tags. Never stop questioning, never stop looking. Never assume that rank equals righteousness or that the chain of command is infallible. Because it's not. It's made up of people. And people can fail. People can fall. People can betray everything they claim to believe. She looked directly at the female Marines scattered throughout the formation. And for those of you who've been told you don't belong, who've been dismissed by men who assumed your gender made you weak, remember this moment. Remember that the woman Admiral Stone called nobody is the one who brought him down. She came to attention, saluted the formation. I am Lieutenant Commander Kira Vance, call sign Ghost, and I am proud to serve alongside every one of you. 2,000 Marines saluted back, And then breaking every protocol of military formation, they began to applaud. The sound rolled across the parade ground like thunder, clapping, cheering. Men and women who had watched her humiliation now standing in witness to her triumph. Captain Torres, who doubted her on day one, was clapping the hardest. Kira held the salute until the noise died down. Then she turned and walked off the platform. She didn't look back. 6 months later, USS Carl Vinson, Pacific Ocean. The sun was rising over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The aircraft carrier cut through calm waters, heading toward whatever mission came next. Kira stood on the flight deck, coffee in her good hand. Her shoulder had healed mostly, still stiff sometimes, but functional. And behind her, 12 operators assembled. SEAL Team 7, her father's old unit, and now hers. She'd been assigned as commanding officer 3 months ago. First female SEAL Team commander in history. The promotion had come with a message from the Chief of Naval Operations himself. Your father would be proud, so are we. The team included 3 women now, recruited and trained based on the standards Kira had helped establish. No special treatment, no lowered bars, just excellence. Master Gunnery Sergeant Silas Brennan had joined as senior instructor, training the next generation of female SEALs, making sure they were ready for what was coming. Because the world needed more warriors who understood the balance. A young female SEAL approached, 24 years old, fresh from BUD/S. She'd graduated second in her class. Commander Vance, she said, nervous. I just wanted to say, you're the reason I enlisted. You're the reason I made it through training. Kira turned, studied this young woman, saw herself 16 years ago, full of fire and determination and the belief that she could change the world. She handed her the coffee. What's your name? Ensign Sarah Morrison, ma'am. Master Gunnery Sergeant Brennan's daughter. Kira smiled. Of course she was. You know why I do this job, Morrison? To serve your country, ma'am. That's part of it. But the real reason? Kira looked at the sunrise. I do this so people like you can follow. So the next generation knows that strength doesn't have a gender. That courage doesn't care what you look like. That the only thing that matters is whether you're willing to give everything for the people counting on you. Morrison nodded slowly. How do I become like you, ma'am? Kira thought about that. About 16 years of service. About 127 confirmed kills. About the night she choked a man to death and felt nothing. About her father's letter. About the balance between warrior and human. You don't become like me, Ensign. You become better. You learn from my mistakes. You hold on to your humanity harder than I did. She paused. But most importantly, you remember that this job isn't about being the first. It's about being the best. And then making sure the people who come after you are even better than that. Morrison came to attention, saluted. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. She walked away to join the other junior operators. Kira watched her go, watched the sun climb higher, watched the world wake up to another day of peace that people like her fought to protect. Her father's dog tags hung around her neck, still warm from her body heat, still carrying the weight of 28 years of service and sacrifice. She touched them gently. I did it, Dad, she whispered. I found them, I stopped them, and I'm building something better. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of salt and jet fuel, and for just a moment, Kira could have sworn she felt something. A presence, a warmth, her father's hand on her shoulder, the way it used to be. She opened her eyes. The feeling was gone. But the lesson remained. She was Kira Vance. She was Ghost. She was a Navy SEAL and the daughter of a hero. And she was finally ready to move forward. Not with rage, not with vengeance, not with the hollow emptiness that had driven her for so long. With purpose, with honor, with the understanding that true warriors fight not because they love violence, but because they love the people violence threatens. Her team was waiting, 12 operators who trusted her with their lives. Kira turned and walked toward them. All right, she said, let's get to work. She looked at each face, saw trust, respect, the beginning of something that would outlast them all. Epilogue. 3 months later, Admiral Richard Stone's court-martial lasted 6 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, recorded conversations, testimony from Garrett Blackwell's network, and Kira's first-hand account of the exchange. The verdict came back unanimous. Guilty on all counts. The sentence, death by lethal injection. Stone showed no emotion when they read the verdict, just stared straight ahead. A broken man who'd lost everything for money that was now frozen in accounts he'd never touch again. Kira attended the sentencing, sat in the gallery, watched as they led him away in chains. She felt nothing, No satisfaction, no relief, just the quiet understanding that justice had been served. Torres approached her afterward, the Marine captain who doubted her on day one of the assessment. Commander Vance, I owe you an apology. For what? For what I said. About women not being built for this, I was wrong. About you. About everything. Kira looked at him, saw genuine remorse. We all make mistakes, Captain. The question is whether we learn from them. I have. And I wanted you to know, I've put in a request to transfer to Special Operations, to work with female candidates, to make sure they get the same opportunities, the same respect. Kira extended her hand. Then you've already started making up for it. They shook. And in that moment, Kira realized something. Her father's death hadn't been in vain. The system that had failed him was changing. Slowly, imperfectly, but changing. Because of what she'd done. Because of what she'd exposed. Because of the standards she'd set. The Vance Protocol was now official Navy policy. New oversight procedures for classified operations. Independent review of intelligence handling. Protections for whistleblowers who reported suspicious activity. It wouldn't bring back the 14 operators who died, but it might save the next 14. And that was enough. Kira walked out of the courtroom, into the California sunshine, into a world that was slightly better than it had been 6 months ago. She pulled out her father's dog tags, looked at them one final time. We did it, Dad, together. Then she tucked them back under her uniform, over her heart, where they would stay forever.